Welcome back to a very special and interesting episode of Hoppline. Today I have the Code X foil drive integrated carbon mast, and in this video I'm going to try to answer a few simple questions. First of all, do I need an integrated carbon mast? What are the benefits? Second, should I go for the Code one? What makes this one so special? And last but not least, there's two options, 11 and 17 centimeters. Which one is the right for you? Let's start with a quick unboxing. I've already tried the 11 centimeter and the 17 centimeter Code X foil drive carbon integrated mast, but this one is a brand new unit. It's never been touched before. Thanks to Foil Drive Europe and Code, I was able to get my hands on this one. So let's start off with the cover, and you might see a minor change here. I'm just gonna grab something I prepared, and if you're familiar with Code foils, you might have seen these ones before, but these ones are actually the old covers. They're gray, they have a different material, and they stain and become dirty quite fast. So I'm a big fan of the new colors Code is using for the X series on the X front wings. It's more of a tougher material. It's black, so you're not getting stains that quick, and it has a very nice high quality finish. It's a little bit more sturdy, which I think is quite nice in terms of protection, and at the same time they just look super stunning with the black and the orange. It's absolutely Code design. So this is what we are seeing on the integrated mast as well. And if you're asking yourself, why is it that big? So it's got the size so it will fit the motor pod and the prop. There's a little pocket right here which includes all the screws you need, and I'm going to talk about these later on, so I'm just going to put them on the side. So let's take a first look, and even though I've seen and tried them before, I'm probably more excited than you are, and Velcro is the worst on microphones, so I'm just going to do the Velcro first and then the talking. Here we go. Like I said before, it's big enough to not only house the mast but also the prop and the poke if it was attached to the carbon mast. Let's put this away for a second and just focus on this beauty. There's protection all around on the trailing edge. I'm just gonna take this off. It's like a foam coating on top of like a rubber seal, so very good transport protection. I might just pull it. What do you reckon? Is that gonna work? No. Beautiful. Let's get these out of the way. Now look at that. That's super beautiful. Wow, it's a perfect finish, and I really like the graphics. Not sure, some people might not like it, but I think having this in like corporate design orange, it's such a good idea. And then you have the graphics here on the 11. The logo is actually on the other side, so even if you don't see the numbers, you can tell them apart. This one's the 17, it's 78 centimeter, and the 11 centimeter one, which means the pod is at 11 centimeters, so a little bit lower, is also 78 centimeter. There's the cable right here sticking out, and the plug is protected, so you're getting like a little protection plug as well. Now, before getting into all the features of the Code integrated mast, I want to quickly talk a little bit more in general what makes an integrated mast and what is the main difference. And I'm just going to grab a foil drive unit, so that makes it a lot easier to explain. And I'm actually going to grab a second one, a non-integrated one, which I have right here. And the most obvious one, and this is why it's called an integrated mast, is the cable is integrated into the mast. So you can see the difference right here. If you're buying a standard foil drive kit, it comes with a universal motor pod or adapter, that's what they call it, and it fits onto every mast. The cable is run on the outside. There's a little bit of a rubber lip right here, and then you're just using tape to keep the cable in place. On the integrated mast, the cable is integrated into the carbon mast, and it runs all the way up to here to connect to your stator and motor. Second one is the motor pod. I said we're using a universal adapter, and that's slick by itself, but sometimes it depends on your mast. You have to use more or less adapters, and the longer or smaller cone right here and in a worst case scenario, this will stick out a little bit more, and this one is just more streamlined. Now don't get that wrong. If we look at the mast that way, they will have, going straight forward, the same amount of drag. The diameter of the stator and the prop is actually what's causing the drag, and this is the same on this one like it is on this one. The main difference is going in and out of the water. If you imagine you're pumping or you're doing the pop up, pulling the engine out of the water, it will be the other way around, but you probably understand what I'm talking about. It's different, and this is what makes the real difference in the feel of an integrated mast. You can see here I'm quite lucky with the universal mast adapters and the subfoil mast. I only need a very small inset. It's the 5mm one. On the Indiana and Ansys mast, it's a perfect fit. So it's a very nice and streamlined construction, even with the universal mast adapter. But just looking at this, you can actually tell the difference. And like I said before, especially in pumping, going out and into the water a lot of times, that where you really feel the difference in coming down. This is very streamlined. I can still pump with it. I've pumped longer sessions. It's nice in the surf. You do feel the motor pod a little bit, but the thing I feel the most is the difference between the max and the slim in the longer nose cone. If you look at that and that touches the water, this line here makes more of a difference for me than the actual motor pod. But still, this is a very nice upgrade. The second benefit you're getting from an integrated mast, and I think it's highly underrated in terms of convenience and transport and travel, is these two extra holes that are drilled into the mast right here. So you're having your standard US Trax holes, but on the integrated mast, there's additional M8 screws that actually screw into the unit and allow you to tighten the unit and the integrated mast together, so they become one unit. If you look at this one over here, this is a slim, and if you take off these bolts, if you are dismounting it from your board, the little cable right here is attached to the unit using 3 screws, and if you would take these screws off right now, I used the little track nuts right here to keep it in place after I dismounted it. But if you would take it off, you would have all the pressure on the cable and you would have to take the plug off, and that just takes a little bit longer. You can do it like I did right here, but this is actually the old screws. Now the screws don't have a thread right here to not damage the unit anymore. They changed it. That's something Foil Drive learned, but on the downside, you're not able to use this anymore the way I'm using it right here. So if you just look at that, I've got one over here. This is a slingshot integrated mast. The screws from the US Trax are taken out right now. It's not connected in any way except for this little M8 screw right here. And now I can take the foil drive off my board for transport. It's super convenient, and that's the same you would do right here on the carbon integrated mast. And this is where the additional screws we were taking out of the package earlier are coming into play. These ones are actually the short M8 screws you are using to bolt the unit and the mast together. On this package in the cold mast, it's titanium screws. They're colored. They're not my perfect colorway. I would prefer to have them in black, but I really like that they are titanium in terms of weight and in terms of corrosion. So now that we already have 2 foil rods on the table, I think it's a very good time to talk about motor height, cable length, pod position, and this can be a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to give you a rundown that more or less makes it clear for you, I hope. I'm just going to grab a few more units right here to get a good explanation of what we're dealing with and what we're talking about. Now, Foil Drive has a universal mast adapter. This is what we talked about earlier. This is what comes in the standard kit. And then you have different cable lengths you can attach. And they come in 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, and I think a 60 centimeter cable. Now don't get confused and don't mix it up with pod position. This is a 15 centimeter cable, but this one is measured to this point, to the center of the motor pod. So if I would measure this distance right here to the screw, it's 18.5 centimeters. So on this one, the motor is actually 1.5 centimeter further away from the board on a 15 centimeter cable. So a little bit confusing right here, but I'm just going to grab this one. And this is a 12 centimeter cable, and this puts the engine or the motor pod on a position or a distance towards the unit of 16.5 centimeter. So this one is actually 0.5 centimeters closer to the board than the Code X full drive carbon integrated mast. Now, what does that mean? And here we are in the area of personal preference. In general, the further the engine or the motor pod is away from the board, the longer it will stay in the water and the easier it is to ride with constant power on. If you're getting the motor pod closer to the board and to the mast base, it's just getting out of the water earlier, it's sucking air earlier, and it's a little bit more advanced on riding. On the other hand, you're getting more room on the mast to play with. So if you put the motor pod all the way down, let's say very close to 11 centimeters like Code did on the 11 centimeter mast, this gives you a huge amount of mast length for regular wing foiling, prone surfing and pumping. Now, what is the perfect length? And this is really personal preference, but I want to give you a rundown on what I like, and that's really related to your user case. So I played around a lot with the cable lengths, and there's a little bit of adjustment you have even using the same cable. If you look at this, I made it a very tight fit, and I'm almost putting too much strain on this little connection. So usually you would have this a little bit more on a curve, but I tried to put it as high up as I could on a 12 centimeter cable to reach 16.5 centimeter center motor pod position. And this is the furthest I could go because this is the one I like the most using the 12 centimeter cable. On the 15 centimeter cable, I actually did the other way around. So you can see there's a lot of cable sticking out here because I tried to pull it as far down as I could. And there's only a certain amount of play you have in these huger, slightly larger holes. So this is trying to bring the motor pod as far down as I could on a 15 centimeter cable, which brings it down to 18.5. So we're having 16.5 centimeters here, 18.5 centimeters. It's a 12 centimeter cable right here and a 15 centimeter cable right here. And there should be a difference of 3 centimeters, but it's not because I just cheated a little bit with the position. That's some fine adjustment. And this is what I like the most in terms of riding for my user case. My user case is doing some upwinds sometimes on the wing foil, getting on foil, still having a lot of room on the mast, proning, surfing, stealing tanker waves, but I still do long distance motoring back, or like a minute on motor and then a minute and a half of pumping and then motoring again. For me, having the motor pod too close to the board is nice in terms of pumping, and it's nice in terms of stealing tanker waves and wake thieving, but at the same time it's not as convenient for longer riding. So sometimes you get a little bit of air stuck in between the board and the motor pod. It doesn't matter if you're taking off in a wave, because then you're just looking for a quick punch into the wave and then you get up on foil and pop out anyway. But if you're riding powered for a longer distance, you just have to concentrate a little bit more on keeping the motor pod in the water, and you have to follow the curve of the water surface very closely. And sometimes, like I said before, if you're getting that air stuck in between the board and the motor pod, you have to stop accelerating, just go down, get a clean water flow again, and then accelerate again. It's a little bit more effort, I would say, to stay on an 11 centimeter motor pod for a longer period of constant e-foiling or powered riding, and it's easier on the 17. For me, trying to bring up a 15 centimeter cable to an 18.5 and a 12 up to 16.5, 17 is the absolute sweet spot. I tried it, I used the 11 and I used the 17, and for my user case of having a mixed reliable system that allows me to do longer distance power, but still having enough room on the mast is just a perfect compromise. Quickly talking about mast lengths, and this is where things are getting even more confusing. On the Code X foil drive integrated carbon mast, you have two options. It's the 11 centimeter and the 17 centimeter motor pod height, and they are both 78 centimeter mast to the top of the Tuttle. Now, Code is using a very deep Tuttle for a very sturdy and stiff feel in the foil and a very nice connection. And if I compare that to my different masts I'm using, this is a 76 centimeter mast, this is a 75, and just from plain numbers, I would say I would rather have a shorter mast. But this is actually 76 centimeters to the top of the Tuttle right here, and the Tuttle is already a lot smaller. And the 75 centimeter mast I have right here, it's a different system, different fuselage. It has a deeper Tuttle and it's 75 centimeters up to here. So this 75 is actually, I would say, a 77, and this 76 is a 77.5. So they are very close to the 78. So just from reading the numbers, I would say a 78 is actually a little bit too big for me, and I would rather have a 75 or 76 for my user case. But the 78 Code, I think, is pretty much the same or somewhere in between a 75 Blackbird subfoil and a 76 Puma. So super confusing, but in the end, I think, again, Code made a very nice choice of giving you just the right length. So it's perfect for proning, it's nice for wing foiling. If you have maybe kiting or something, you would probably go for a longer mast, but I don't think a lot of people will use an integrated carbon foil drive mast for kiting. And for anything else, this is my perfect size. Even for my user case of still riding a lot of power, I would choose a 76 to 78 centimeter mast. And I think having half a centimeter or a centimeter more in the Code one is actually quite nice if you're out in the surf. So let's get all the foil drive gear out of the way and finally get into all the bells and whistles of the new Code integrated carbon mast. And I'm gonna start very simple, bottom to top, because that's the easiest one, and a feature I really like. There's a little bit of a rubber pad right here. Not sure if you have seen it on my videos or on all my masts. I actually put a special tape exactly on the same position, so it's not scratching your board. If you have some sand in between, it's just nice. It's a small feature, but I really like it. Down on the base, you've got this little plate right here. This is where you can adjust the cable length. Just unscrew these little 4 screws and then you can pull out the cable to adjust the position on your unit. So I'm just gonna grab the foil drive unit once more, and then I think it becomes totally clear. Now, in order to get power into this motor pod and into the stator and the motor, you have to attach this cable to the foil drive unit using 3 little screws, like I said before. If you're attaching the integrated mast, and this is a very convenient way of doing it, using these little 8 screws right here to the unit, you only have to do it once. But in order to get the right position, you have or might have to adjust the cable length. Now, if you're using the Max, this could be a perfect fit, the same on the Slim. But if you're using the foil drive Fusion, which more or less bridges the gap towards an A-foil, this plug is a little bit further to the back. I think it's 7 centimeters or something. And this is where this little plate and the cable becomes important. Like I said before, unscrew it, adjust the cable to the right length, put it into the right position, maybe make a small mark on the cable, screw this back on just hand tight, and then screw the cable and the plug into the unit. Like I said before, it's very handy to use these M8 screws afterwards. They're titanium, super high quality, no corrosion, and then this integrated mast and the whole unit become a unit by itself, and it's very easy to put it on the board, off the board, even if you're using a trench board. I said we're going to do features bottom to top, so we're moving slowly up the mast. And the next thing you might notice if you're familiar with Code foils and Code mast, This is a new mast plate. It's very streamlined, it looks super stiff. It's got a wide base right here, giving you all the stiffness we know and we love from cold foils, but at the same time it's not overhanging anymore. And if you've tried that before, if you used a foil drive with a cold mast, a non-integrated system, this is a very sturdy base and it gives you a lot of stability, but at the same time it was slightly overhanging the unit. It's not a big deal breaker or something, but you can feel the difference in the water, and it's just not high performance in terms of hydrodynamics. And if you look at the difference right now, they redesigned the whole thing. They are still keeping this wide base to get all the power and stiffness into the mast and make it a very sturdy connection, but at the same time it's just super flush right now. It also has the look of the foil drive a little bit, and in terms of aesthetics it's just a perfect fit. Next up are the holes right here, and you see they actually have a little bit of a cut or slit right here, so you can move them into the bolts if you wanted to, or move them around easier, or take out the bolts. Quite nice feature. Not sure I'm going to use it a lot, but that would be quite handy if you're taking the foil drive or the integrated mast on and off on a regular basis. Moving on is the next one, and this is something we definitely have to talk about, is the motor pod. We talked about position. This is the 17 centimeter motor pod position, so it's 17 centimeter from here to the center of the motor pod. You can roughly think of 6 centimeter further towards the board on the 11 centimeter. It's just different user cases. I tried to explain it before. This one is a perfect fit for me, but there's more to it. This is a very short connection. Like I said before, it doesn't change the diameter, so we're still having the same drag going straight. And actually, this is a bullet shape from the side, and a bullet is just the most hydrodynamic object going through the water. But it's the same on the universal mast adapter. This really comes in play when you're going up and down into the water, and I think this is the shortest possible connection you can have, but at the same time it's moved very far forward. It even has a little bit of a gap right here, so it's moved into the mast, still making a stiff connection here in the rest of the mast, but moving it as far forward to shorten the overall length and having this as short as possible. And I think this is a masterpiece of engineering, not only in thinking about how you can, even in the tiniest millimeters right here, get a higher performance. But I tried this, I tried the 11 and I tried the 17, and they are super stiff. I also, and this is very personal, like the look of this being orange. I think it's just so nice. It's not really a feature, but for some people it will be. Now moving further up, this is an ultra high modulus carbon mast, and Code claims it's the stiffest mast they actually made. I'm only 65 kilograms. I'm not super radical in my riding. I can feel the difference, but I'm definitely not pushing the limits. I spend a lot of time at boat, you might have seen it on Instagram, with Tom Earl in the pool, and he was shredding and he was really impressed by the stiffness. So in comparison to the standard or the ultra high modulus carbon mast they had before, I cannot really tell the difference, but I can say it's at least the same amount of stiffness, and I would just trust Code and say, yes, it does have more stiffness. Just a quick touch on the Tuttle right here, and you can see it's the same we had before. It's the same deep Tuttle, and this is what sets Code a little bit apart from the other brands on the market. This is a very deep connection, and even without the screws, if you just slide it into your front wing, this is almost a solid construction. I would love to try it actually without the screws and see if it would hold on. And no matter, like I said before, if you're using the X series, the S series, the R series, this is the same mount, so you can use all your existing gear, and it's a super stiff system. I think this is what impressed me the most. First time I was on Code, I thought, or first time I saw it, I thought it would be super heavy because of these heavy duty connection, and the fuse is a little bit thicker than I thought it had to be, but I could tell the difference. It's not that much different in weight, I was actually wrong, but it's a difference in stiffness, and you benefit from the stiffness with a more direct feel and just more efficiency in the water. I'm just going to do a very quick rundown on the setup. It's fairly simple. Like I said before, first thing you have to do is adjust the cable lengths by undoing these 4 bolts, pulling the cable out to the right position, and then putting the plate back on just hand tight. Second would be putting on the puck from your foil drive. So you're taking this one out. This one is a split bolt, so you just undo it from both sides, pull it out, pull this one out, and then you're using these little 4 screws that are here, tiny, slide them in, and then screw the puck to this one. Put a little bit of battery grease on here. There's a second seal on it, but it never hurts to use some battery grease. And then it's just standard foil drive setup. I'm just going to put this unit back for some final thoughts on the Code X foil drive carbon integrated mast. And if we look at this is one of the stiffest masts I ever tried. And I think all the good things from the Code foils and mast and the whole setup went into this, and I would really call it a masterpiece of engineering. I had my little doubts when I saw the micropod in a full carbon construction for the first time, because I think it's not an easy one to pull this off, to make this part as stiff as the rest. They kept the big base Code is sort of famous for, but at the same time they somehow managed to make it even more streamlined and slicker and not overlapping anymore. And for me, it's also the small things like having these little splits right here, the sort of rubber material on that one, it just adds all up. And at the same time, like I said before, I have my system dialed in, and I played around hundreds of hours on the foil drive, and my perfect setting is somewhere on the mast 76 to 78, 75, depending on how you measure it, but it's very close to the 78 centimeter foil drive and Code just put out. At the same time, 17 centimeter or 16.5 is my absolute sweet spot. So I'm very glad, and I think that's not an easy one, an easy decision for companies to make. They could go for an E-foil position all the way down towards, I think 11 or 10 is the closest you can run a motor to the board. So for me, this Code integrated mast is more or less all my wishes come true, all my dreams in just one masterpiece of carbon and wires. And I've tried it before, and I'm absolute in love with this. Not because it's Code, but because I can see all these thinking and thoughts and decisions being made running into this masterpiece, like I called it before. I love it. I tried it. I can recommend it to anyone who's actually looking for an integrated carbon mast. Last but not least, I want to quickly touch on the topic, do I need an integrated mast? They're quite expensive, and that's a very personal one. For me, I'm always looking for not only high performance, but convenience, and taking the mast on and off takes some time. And I'm a family guy, everything that can make it easier for me. I'm using the one log slingshot a lot just because not only it's nice for us as well, but at the same time, it's super convenient. Setup time is just quicker, and it's buying me time in the water. And something as small as these little holes right here, bolting the mast to the unit, makes it easier and faster for me in my daily routine of hitting the water, putting the foil drive back in the car, coming home, storing it in winter, cold, maybe ice on the foil drive. It's just more convenient. At the same time, I do feel the difference in performance. I'm quite lucky with the Subfoil one, and especially with the Indiana and this one, because it's just a perfect fit with the universal motor adapter. But if you're using longer inserts, if your motor part is sticking out further than this one, you will really feel the difference. This is just on another level. We're seeing, or we have seen, integrated masts before, aluminium ones, using a similar technique like this one, just with an integrated cable. This one is just slick all the way, not only on the cable, but also on the pod. And it's, yeah, the highest performance and slickest one in feel, going in and out of the water. And it's something I don't really want to miss anymore. So I think we touched a lot of topics, and I hope I answered most of your questions. If you do still have questions regarding the Code X foil drive carbon integrated mast, no matter if you're talking about the 17 or the 11 centimeter mast motorpod height position, just leave a comment and I'm trying to get back to you. And I'm very much looking forward to see you back here on this channel very soon. Take care.